noted something. I want to finish the common questions, but I just had a notation on the trend statement. Let me go ahead and ask. You say that the residential trend has quit its increasing slope.
Right.
Is it still going down? And in the commercial, it's not recovered, but is it still increasing in slope?
No, it's not. It's not accelerating downward like it was. It is, but it's not showing any signs of turning up or
1 year, 5 years?
a couple.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, is there, this is an odd question because I don't know how you would answer if it were said, but I'm assuming that statewide there is political pressure that comes out of the sort of legislative boards in the counties to try to slow this trend, to try to influence their property appraisers to decrease the acceleration.
Interesting question.
In the base.
Interesting question, because there really isn't. The only time that I feel that there's at the state level there is none. I mean, the state. Well, let me couch this a little differently, because the state, the DOR, Department of Revenue, has tended to make us keep the values up. They do that statistically. But I don't think it's because of the tax base. They use of course, they're a step removed from the analysis that we're doing. They take our data and then they rework it with a different statistical set and come back and say, hey, you're low on this, you're low on that. And they do, and once a year or every other year, they do either residential or commercial. They'll come in and do an audit. They'll go in and fee simple, or by a fee appraisal, they'll go in and look at a piece of property, or 20 or 30 pieces of property, and they give them strata, divided by property type, and they will they'll say, well, you're high and you're low, and they'll use that statistical high-low thing to change your level of assessment. We're required in Florida to be something around 100% level of assessment. That is to say, the assessment at sales price, and that's the first number. That discount all of or take away all of the exemptions and corrections that you get in the tax roll because of the Constitution, various things in the Constitution. So we're always in that parameter. I mean, your tax roll will not pass their inspection unless your level of assessment is around 90 to 100. They'll let you go as low as, sometimes you can go given strata, you can be in the 85 range. But generally speaking, you try to set your level of assessment so that you're taxing 92% of the sale price across the board generally, and that's 92% is that 8% that's missing is the cost of sale. Generally, we will this year set base rates probably in the second quarter, and so I'll be able to tell you then what this tax roll is going to look like. My guess is it's going to be down, and I would say about like last year. So that puts the city council in a position and the school board in a position of saying, okay, well, to get the same revenue we had this year or last year, we're going to have to raise the rate another 8%. Of course, the public's not going to want to put up with that. So I think you're looking at local government having to cut 7, 8, 9% in this coming year. Because I don't see the city council going back and doing that again.
And do you see any inequities in the actual tax structure?
Well, I mean, there are structural inequities, lots of them. I mean, the difference between two Save Our Homes houses, depending on the year bought, can be wrenching. I mean, I see it all the time. Two houses right beside each other, they're paying entirely different taxes because of when the house was purchased.
Okay, other than the Save Our Homes.
Other than in the base number, that is to say, the first number you start off with, the fair market price, the just value that's called in the law. No, I mean, I see the same variability you see in any kind of data set.
How often is that established?
All the time, constantly.
Do you reassess every year?
Oh yeah. We are physically inspecting every property every 5th year. We do 20% every year by law. And I guess I can make a point on that. But the underlying value that starts all this, the equation that goes out after that, we are within every parameter we're supposed to be inside of. You know, the primary one is called a coefficient of dispersion, and it's around the median, and we are always within that. And if we're not, we have to change, obviously, change the price up or change the price down for whatever group we're looking at. So this is done by neighborhoods all over the county in smaller subsets, but when you put it all together, you're still inside that same parameter. So we've never failed the parameters of
How
question.
do you feel about advocacy? You're correct. And how do you feel about advocacy as the position to incorrect inequity?
I don't know if I understand the question, but
Are they just points of view of viewers? Or
No.
should you advocate for change to eliminate these inequities?
You know, in a perfect world, there would be no property tax inequity. Everything would be priced at 100%. There would be no exemptions. There would be no saver homes. There would be no homestead exemption. There would be no reductions for widows and disabled and blind and veterans and it goes on and on and on. You know, but that's not the real world. The real world is the political world of Tallahassee, where periodically they give somebody a break. And our tax code, the property tax code, has gotten to be a lot like the sales tax code, and that is there are a lot of people that are just let off the hook.
Are there anything you think we ought to be looking at, inequities we ought to be looking at?
If we were going to fix the equity problem in Florida, we would go back to a 100% market value system, which we start with now, but then we do all these other things. Get rid of all the other things. Probably I would assume the churches would stay in an untaxed situation. Kind of take those out and then tax everybody else at a much lower rate. And that would be a much more equitable system.
What's your views about nonprofits and charities that have tax exemptions on their contracts?
They're all exempt. All the big hospitals in town are exempt, except for Memorial.
Like, for instance, Elks.
Elks.
I remember when I was involved.
Anything you can think of that's nonprofit is more than likely not paying a tax.
You
Yeah.
think that's a proper?
No, I think that I would much rather have a much higher base
Yeah.
and a much lower millage.
Is exempt? How much of our tax base is exempt?
How much is exempt? What they used to call the leaks. Oh, I don't know. It's 40%.
So that's the biggest issue I want to raise here.
I mean, I don't know. That's a wild guess, by the way. It may be 30, but it's a big number.
All right, let me go on that question. I'll leave it. Is there can we find some way to solve those certificates of occupancy that are issued after January 1, or new homes that are bought after January 1, to put them on the payroll?
We-
And be exempt for a year?
We'll put a house on the roll if it's substantially complete as of January the 1st. You don't have to be doesn't have to have a certificate of occupancy. We have a few cases like that every year where somebody either threatens to sue us or we'll go to the value adjustment board on. But if your house, if the builders finish the house or nearly finish the house and you could occupy it, I don't mean you would. I mean, it may not have tile, it may not have carpet, and it may not have, the grass out front. But if you could go live there, then it's substantially complete. And we will put it on the tax roll as of January 1st.
Is there a significant amount that's a
No.
February holiday?
It's not a big deal.
Exempt from property tax because of
No.
the time lag that we don't.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Because we don't get a proportionate share.
Yeah, there are people in the state who would say we ought to proportionally tax, which means that we would, for us, that would be a very difficult thing, because we need an appraisal date to start, and we could do it maybe twice a year, maybe January 1 and June 1, which would be a workable system. And if we had to do it.
Could be picked up if we paid proportional during the year.
It would pick up some value, yeah. I mean, it would be and probably in a building environment, like this 1906, 07, and 05, it would be a big number. But now, of course, there are very few new homes being constructed, so it's not really an issue. Much of a less of an issue than it was a few years ago. You're going to run out of time?
Very general question.
Okay.
This is something that I get hammered about, and I haven't heard it in the political arenas. The tax base, and for the known reasons, the values and everything have slid, but there's literally been billions of dollars of new development, Cecil Field area, and some of the southeast area. Where did it go as far as the assessment rolls? There's been all of this improvement. Is it not occupied? It didn't get finished?
No, it's on the roll, should be.
Now,
Now, Cecil.
How can we have all of this building and the tax base is still lower than it was before?
Well, I mean, new construction is only a small percentage of the base. We did in a good year, in a really good year, we got up to close to $3 billion in new construction. But lately, it's been more like less than $1 billion in new construction. And you're talking about it on a tax base of, $46 billion. So it's not that much to add. Cecil's an interesting example because Cecil, on the airport side, is all exempt.
Yes.
But on the yellow water side, above Normandy, should all be on the tax roll unless City Council does something crazy. But right now, I mean, all that, the B.F. Goodrich thing and the thing where the Walmart was going to go, and all that should go on the roll.
All right, what about between Cecil Field and Orange Park?
Most of that's going to be exempt because if it's on the airport property, it's under the JAA umbrella of being
This
non-taxed.
residential development.
No, residential development's different. It'll all go on the tax roll.
Okay.
And and frankly, there hadn't been that much residential development out there. I mean, there's been some, Panther Creek, and there's a couple of neighborhoods south of the field, but
$4 billion.
We're running out of time.
Okay.
it might not be.
We're in this.
Okay.
Actually, out of time.
That's a great question. If you want to, I can tell you, if you want to give me a parameter, I can tell you exactly how much growth there's been in a certain
And the tax
area.
roll is going down.
Yeah, well, and the reason is because it's, the new construction is just a small piece of the tax
Okay.
roll.
Thank you.
Okay, well, ding, ding, ding.
Closing statement. You got a closing statement you want to say very briefly?
I don't know that I have anything to add other, I think I've covered everything. I gave you a list of our major accomplishments through the 8 years. Coming next, we've got online homestead filings, which should be pretty interesting. And we're in test right now. We should have it up sometime in February for the public to take a look at. We will also go to online TPP filings, which the accountants in town really want us to try. I'm going to borrow that software from another county, so nothing to pay for the software. Much beyond that, we're about to finish the first ever inventory of all the property in town. My predecessor never did it. He said once there were Save Our Homes, there really wasn't a need to inventory everything. We're required by law to inventory everything. We're starting to use aerials a lot more and field inspections a lot less. So we're trying everything we can think of to increase productivity, mostly through using technology. So I've got a lot to do left. So I would ask for your continued support.
Want to lose 4 more years to do that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming.